Sports Blitz Friday. Mark Freeman, Matty Lassiter here in the Cogswell Motors studios. Glad to be talking some football. NFL season kicked off last night, and the Seattle Seahawks put a beat down on the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about that game. In the second segment, we'll talk a little bit more about it. I've got something that probably a little controversial to say about the Seattle Seahawks. Something I noticed last night. It's not news breaking, but it is something that I'll have to say about that game. But man, does that change your thoughts about who you have winning the Super Bowl or what you have going on in the NFL? Let us know today. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/sportsblitz, and answer today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. It's Prediction Friday. The Razorbacks going to get a win tomorrow against Nicholls State, who is terrible. That's going to be the first win for the Razorbacks in almost a year. It's gonna be if they can beat Texas Tech next week, it'll be the first time they've beaten an FBS opponent in a year. Unbelievable. So we'll talk about the predictions that we have for the game. Give us your score prediction. The closest person will win a huge shout out on the Sports Blitz, and that is about it. Maybe a pat on the back if I see you in public. We'll see. You can give us a call at 968-NEWS. It's 968-6397. We're going to start with high school football as the season kicks off tonight. Now, there's some games that kicked off on Tuesday night. Dardanelle beat Danville in the Judges Cup 68-34. And we talked to Coach Price on Wednesday about that. We'll talk to Lamar coach Josh Jones here in just a moment. He's got his Lamar Warriors heading into Clarksville and Matheny Field to take on the Panthers tonight, the Battle of 64. I made a mention of the fact that it had been a long time since they played. I think it had only been since 2005. I didn't even know they played in 2005. I guess it was just a 1 year or maybe a 2 year thing, and I was distanced enough from the programs that I did not know that they played. But either way, it's a rivalry that goes back years and years and years, and Clarksville and Lamar will tee it up tonight at 7 o'clock at Matheny Field. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be excited about the game. It's the first game of the Eli Craner era. Josh Jones got his squad rolling. It looked like, and I heard this from an outside source the other day, that Lamar was ranked 4th in the state in the 3A and also 3rd in their own conference. In their conference this year, and I'll talk to Coach Jones about this here in a moment, Charleston, the defending 3A champ, Boonville, the defending 4A champ who moved down. Lamar, you guys had a great season last year. You got to the playoffs. You played pretty well. Show them what they've won. A conference that's more loaded than any conference in the state in any classification. Unbelievable. Thank you, AAA. That's what Lamar's saying today. We may make the playoffs squeak in because we've had this tough schedule. Got to play a 5A school in Clarksville. Got to play a 4A school in earnest in Boonville. Got to play the defending champs in Charleston. And, man, that's just unreal what Lamar's got to do on their schedule. We got Coach on the line right now. Awesome. We're joined on the line now by Coach Josh Jones of the Lamar Warriors. Got a huge game tonight, the Battle on 64. Coach, we're talking about your schedule, and I'll get to that here in just a little bit, but talk about your off-season preparation and how pumped up your guys are for Clarksville tonight.
Well, we feel like we had a really good off-season. We had all the kids in. They made a lot of gains in the weight room and, got faster and stronger and did the right things in the weight room and throughout our camps and 7-on-7s during the summer, and that leads us right into Clarksville tonight. Whenever I got here 2 years ago, everyone was, just begging to play Clarksville, wanted to play Clarksville, and so, kind of made that happen. And, I know the two towns are very excited. Clarksville's pumped up, our kids are pumped, and, the fans are just going nuts, and it should be a great atmosphere for high school football tonight.
It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to being there. I know that there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands by now, of pre-sold tickets. They were talking about alleviating the pressure at the gates by selling tickets around both towns so that folks can get their ticket ahead of time and just show up. And it's going to be an incredible atmosphere. Coach, you guys had a great season last year, made it all the way to the playoffs. Now you guys are kind of coming at it from a different angle. Now, I know you're replacing players, and I want to talk about players here in just a little bit, but talk about how you've had your players sort of learning how to deal with the success that they've had over the last couple years and how they hadn't let it go to their heads.
Well, at the end of last year, we went 9-2. That last, we were 9-1 going into playoffs, played Barton. Barton was a very good team. They squeaked one out on us, beat us by 2 points. And, our kids were very hungry. They spent the off season really focused on, they felt like they should have went a little deeper in the playoffs than that. And so they were really focused on that and worked really hard. The kids that came out, they're ranked pretty high in the preseason, and they feel like they deserve that, and they want to live up to it. So, I don't know if I really got to keep their head on straight too much. They're just focused, ready to play football, and I think they're going to be ready to go tonight.
Well, you brought up the high ranking in the 3A, and if I'm not mistaken, I was told this the other day that you guys are in like the top 4 or 5 in the 3A, and you're third in your own conference in the preseason because of Charleston and Boonville being in there. What kind of ridiculous conference are you guys in this year, and how is that affecting you guys?
Well, the conference is pretty loaded. You not only have Boonville and Charleston in it, they're the defending state champions in 4A and also 3A with Charleston. But, you have Paris, Mansfield, Lavaca. Those teams all feel like they're going to be right there at the top also. So it's going to be a dogfight all the way through, just every week. It's just going to be you got to get up every week to play.
Well, I want to talk about your goals for the season, but before we do, obviously the big game this week, the battle on 64. I've talked to a couple of other coaches in previewing their seasons, and we had the Rivals Cup and the Judges Cup here in this area. What's it like for you guys starting the season with a rivalry game?
Well, I think it gets the kids just a little bit more excited. That rivalry, they call it a big rivalry, but I think, in 30 years of playing, Lamar has only won once. But it just so happens that it was the last time they played. And, I guess that between the two towns, that was a big deal for Lamar to beat them last time. I believe it was in 2005. And, they, for one reason or another, they stopped playing then. And, the tide's turned a little bit. Most people kind of expect us to win this time. But I'm sure Clarksville has something to say about that, and it'll be a really good game.
Well, I know that Clarksville's excited about Coach Eli Craner coming in and changing sort of the philosophy and everything about what's going on in Clarksville football. So I know from we had a little thing at church this Wednesday night, Clarksville versus Lamar night, and it was the most attendance we've had in 2 years. So these kids are very, very excited about the game, and I know that folks are expecting it to be a really, really good game. But let's talk about some players. I know you replaced a lot of guys from last year, and it's always the case in high school. Seniors go on, but you replaced some really, really good skill position players, but you've got some guys coming up. Talk about some players you expect to contribute this year.
Well, the receiver type guys, we've got Danny McCarley's out there with Sparling Kilo on the wide side on the right, and both those guys are speed guys, and they can make plays in the slot. We got Eric James and Blake Kern. Both those guys can make plays also. Dusty Wilkins and Austin Hensey in the other slot. Those guys, very capable type receivers. And, I guess it kind of all revolves around Braxton Santley, quarterback. He's a returner. He threw for about 2,500 yards and 30-something touchdowns last year. So, he's a little bit of a coach on the field. He's been in the system for a while, and he makes good decisions. And we expect him to really lead us tonight. We got Davenport and Yarborough in the backfield that they'll be carrying the ball the majority of the time, and you can't get anywhere without that front line. So, I'm going to have to remember everybody. Blake Bowman, Dylan Lovell, Todd Saucier, Miko Chenault, and Blake DeBala. Those guys up front, I tell you, we're a pretty good-sized team up front, and we feel like they can push some people around and get some tough yards when we need to.
Well, Coach, I know you guys have got you guys have changed the sort of the culture there around Lamar, and not to say that Lamar had been bad. They'd actually been improving before you got there, and now you guys have gone on to the state playoffs, and you've done some really good things. Tonight you start your season against Clarksville. We're here with Josh Jones, Lamar head football coach. Coach, take us inside your locker room. The game's about to kick off. What are you saying to your team tonight?
I don't know that you have to pump them up too much. They're going to be fired up enough. I may get a senior or two to talk a little bit about what it means to them to play to Clarksville. These kids that have grown up here their whole life, people from Clarksville brag about their team. I'm sure Lamar brags about their team. And for the past 9 years, they probably argued about who would have won.
Yeah.
And so, tonight they get to settle that on the field. And I have no doubt that both teams are going to come out fired up and just play a great football game. And we've talked about our kids about, hey, you knock somebody down, you help them up, do the right things, and make sure that we're running. Because we have a really classy program here and play football the right way, and we hope to show that.
Well, Coach, I'm looking forward to a good season for the Lamar Warriors. Looking forward to seeing you guys make the playoffs again. I'll be watching Charleston and watching Boonville, watching this game tonight. Be watching you guys a lot this year. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we wish you the best of luck tonight and throughout the season. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That's Coach Josh Jones, Lamar Warriors head football coach. Got a huge game. The Battle on 64 tonight against Clarksville. We've also got the Rivals Cup, Dover-Atkins. We talked with Coach Cody on Wednesday from Atkins. We'll talk again about that game on Monday, as I expect it's going to be another high-scoring game. Last year was 48-35. Atkins got the win. This year I expect Dover's going to be a little bit more competitive, I think. They've got a running back Luke Price, Josh Price, the Dardanelle football coach. Luke Price, who was the quarterback last year, he's moving to running back, and then they've got a quarterback back from injury, so that's kind of going to help them in two positions rather than Luke Price having to be their best player and play quarterback and just sort of have to make things happen. He's going to move to the running back position. He's going to help them there, and they're going to have a quarterback they can count on. So I think Dover's going to put some points on the board tonight. I expect that Atkins is going to be real fired up there in Sorrell Stadium, Limley Field there in Atkins for the Rivals Cup tonight. Looking forward to seeing some good from that game. Before I forget, before I remember, read down the rest of the games that are going to be taking place tonight, I want you to go to facebook.com/sportsblitz, and I want you to help us in facebook.com/RVL News. I'm going to post Facebook status about the scoreboard for tonight. I'm a Friday Night Football scoreboard, and I need your help. If you're at a game tonight, and you're going to be at games all over the area, Pope Johnson and Yale counties, I'm not going to be at Gravette tonight for Pottsville Gravette, but somebody's going to be there. Post the score to your game as it happens so we can keep folks in the know. The cool thing about this for the last 3 years is that as games end, we know all the scores from all the teams in the area immediately. You don't have to wait for that radio broadcast in Little Rock to get to your score if they do, and then they'll have a second quarter score or something. We want the final scores as they happen. So you can comment facebook.com/RVL News or facebook.com/SportsBlitz and let us know what's going on in your game. I'll keep you up to date with the Clarksville-Lamar game because I'll be there. Danville, we mentioned, had Dardanelle on Tuesday. Hector's hosting Marshall tonight. We need somebody to help us with that one. Hector, looking forward to seeing Hector this year a couple times. They're going to be very, very good. Got a talented Tanner Gaines back at quarterback, a sophomore who started last year as a freshman, so you know he's good. Pottsville, we mentioned at Gravette. Russellville hosting Morrilton. Little news out of Russellville. Sounds like Chase Bikanovsky's not going to be able to play quarterback tonight. Got a concussion earlier this week. I hope that's not information that's supposed to be behind closed doors, but I've heard that from players that he's not going to be able to play tonight. I hope that he recovers well and can come back sooner rather than later for the Cyclones, but they're going to be taking on the defending 5A state champs in Morrilton, and they're going to be playing a sophomore at quarterback, whether it's Ryan Metters or whether it's Michael Mullen will decide tonight as the Cyclones take the field. They've got plenty of skill position players, and if they can do like Auburn does or like Seattle did last night and just get it in the hands of their skill players, their Percy Harvins, they've got guys. Tony Jones, Kentrell Scott, Cochise, Temple Laws. They've got more than that even that they can get the ball in their hands. Russellville will be right there against Morrilton tonight. Two Rivers is at Hackett, and Western Yale County is at Brinkley tonight. So let us know what your score is. Let us know what goes on in your games. We'd love to have those. Facebook.com/SportsBlitz, Facebook.com/RVL News. Phone lines are free between now and noon. I got our one call out of the way from Coach Jones. Appreciate him calling in today. So give us a call, 968-6397, or answer today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. I'll give you my controversial thoughts on the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll talk a little NFL right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks opened the NFL season last night with a thud. The Legion of Boom went nuts on the Green Bay Packers, 36-16. They just beat up Aaron Rodgers. They hurt a couple players, concussed Eddie Lacy. They hung a banner. Everybody that I knew, and I didn't see anybody who picked Seattle to win or to lose the game and for Green Bay to win, but you're hanging a banner. You're in the loudest stadium in the NFL. It's like a college atmosphere. You just won the Super Bowl. I could see where people might think there was going to be a hangover, but pretty much everybody knew Green Bay was going to go into a hornet's nest and Seattle was going to win that game. And boy, did they look impressive. I liked what I saw from Seattle as far as their defense. Everybody talks about the defense. Their defense gets the headlines, and with good reason. They're very, very good. But last night they showed some stuff on offense that I thought was just, whoa. They ran some Auburn. They ran a fly sweep a lot with Percy Harvin. And it was a zone, and then they ran a zone read with Marshawn Lynch, and some of the holes that those guys were running through was just unreal. If you've got Percy Harvin in space, it reminded me, and it's a much, much larger scale than what I'm about to tell you, about stuff we used to do in intramurals and flag football. We would have a guy who was really, really fast come off the slot, and he would go run in this direction, well, we'd have somebody who was really tall running down that way and somebody who was really good out of the backfield going the other direction. Well, the defense would just have to spread way out, and if we picked the right one or they picked the wrong one, it was a huge play. And Seattle did that last night. They got a couple big runs out of Percy Harvin on the fly sweep. They got a truck-sized hole for Marshawn Lynch on one of the runs, and then on one of the zone reads, it was a beautiful play. It was a keep from Russell Wilson, and when he kept the ball and he goes rolling left, the corner comes at him, and he just dumps it over his head, and the guy goes for 6. It was nasty, and if they continue to do that, it could be the next generation of the zone read. Like, you remember a couple years ago, nobody could stop the zone read. Before that, the Wildcat. Before that, the West Coast offense and those types of things. And it took teams a while to catch up. The Philadelphia Eagles, it's taken teams a while. It's going to take teams a while to catch up to what they're doing. And if Seattle can pair a good offense with that great defense, it's going to be tough to beat Seattle. They're not going to lose at home. Everybody knows that. And in the last 2 years, they've lost one game at home. That was to the Cardinals last year, and it didn't matter. They already had locked up home field. So Seattle's not going to lose at home. Then if they are scoring points and they win a bunch more on the road, they look kind of lackadaisical at times on the road last year, then they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to go into the playoffs as a number 1 seed. Somebody's going to have to beat them in Seattle, and that's just ugh. So I was impressed with what I saw from Seattle. Wasn't overly impressed with what I saw from Green Bay. The defense was supposed to be better. Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews, you see them coming off opposite ends, and that's nasty. And I think Julius Peppers is going to be pretty good. But the secondary for Green Bay against Seattle, who, Seattle's not the greatest passing team in the world, and they just lit them up. Seattle was doing whatever they wanted against Green Bay. I wasn't real impressed with what I saw from Green Bay. Feel bad for my boy Aaron Rodgers, who I've got on my fantasy team. He was 23 of 33 last night, had a couple big plays wiped away by holding or by illegal contact by the offense. Stuff, just weird stuff that happened. 189 yards and a touchdown with another interception. He had a rough night. It's bad when your QBR or your quarterback rating is 81, so you had a pretty decent game there. You only completed 10 passes. You still get whipped by 3 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, 19 of 28 for 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marshawn Lynch, 20 carries for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. Percy Harvin, 7 catches for 59 yards, also rushed the ball 4 times for 41 yards. That's going to be a tough team to stop this year. I expected that Marshawn Lynch would come down to earth a little bit and that Percy Harvin would have all eyeballs on him because they don't have anybody else as a wide receiver that is really good. But last night, Seattle they put on a show, Matty. They played very, very well on the offensive side of the football. We knew they'd play well on the defensive side. Nobody threw at Richard Sherman. Zero attempts
just
at
like
him.
in Fuego.
Shut
That's
up.
crazy.
Shut up. Hey, we were pretty good. And I have to make since I didn't play college football or pro football or even high school football, I have to make the analogies that I can when I can. So I have to say that Seattle's in Fuego, I guess. No, our offense was much better than that. Anyway, NFL season kicked off last night, and I'm looking forward to a good weekend of football. New Orleans, Atlanta. It's going to be a good game. I think Atlanta's going to be much improved from that 3-13 last year. Got a lot of guys back. San Francisco at Dallas. That one's going to be a fun one to watch. Cincinnati, Baltimore. There's some good games. New England, Miami. Miami always gives New England problems. Carolina, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, Denver. Peyton Manning going back to the scene of the crime, so to speak. Last year it was in Indianapolis. This year it's in Denver. But his former team, they celebrate him, and then they beat him. So I think Denver, without Wes Welker, going to plug Emmanuel Sanders in there. I think they're going to be all right. They're going to beat Indianapolis this weekend, but that's going to be a fun one. And then 2 Monday Nighters, the Giants and Detroit Lions. They're in Detroit and San Diego at Arizona. Looking forward to the NFL season kicking off. Maddie, what did you see last night from Seattle?
I didn't see anything.
You didn't watch the game?
I did not watch the game. I was laying on my couch watching reruns of Parks and Recreation.
Did you
That's
forget?
how much I care about the Seahawks.
Oh
they make me angry.
It's NFL.
I know, but they make me angry. I don't like them. Richard Sherman is a punk. I like Russell Wilson, but I hate their coach. I'll just come out and say that right now. Pete Carroll, suck it. And
I don't like the way he carries himself. Like he just looks like a fun guy. He looks like the guy you'd want to play for.
Well, look,
I just don't like
the way
him either.
it all came down to me, the way he acted on the sideline, and I'm going to sound like a bitter fan because I am, when he was with USC and they beat Arkansas 2 years in a row badly.
Woo-wee.
And he was just running
Yeah.
up and down the sideline like it's just, this is a fun exhibition game when they're beating us by, I don't remember what it was, 73 to whatever
They beat
it was.
us like 70-17 one year.
Yeah,
50 to
and that
14
just
the
made
next.
me mad because it's like, look, you don't need to pour it on. You're better than us. You're beating us. That's enough. So I know that sounds like, what it is, kind of a bitter fan thing, but
Yeah.
I've never liked him since then.
I kind of think of Pete Carroll as John Calipari. If what you did doesn't exist anymore, did it ever happen? Like the tree falls in the woods. John Calipari, what you did at UMass and what you did at Memphis doesn't count anymore. So did it really ever happen? I don't know. If he leaves Kentucky in 5 years and that banner comes down and all those things that he accomplished never happened, I won't be surprised. And that leads me perfectly into what I was going to say about Seattle today. I had to give them their credit, had to give credit where it was due. They're the Super Bowl champs, played well last night. If it comes out years from now, this is not the opinion of River Valley Leader or the Sports Blitz, just mine. If it comes out years from now that the entire Seattle Seahawks organization, every player, even down to the ball boys, were on performance-enhancing drugs and or steroids, I won't be surprised. I'll be the last one to be surprised because that team, they've had, and this is sort of my opinion, but also based on some fact, they've had 4 suspensions for performance-enhancing drugs. One of them was overturned, the one on Richard Sherman. You can't coach 6'3", 220, can cover like crazy, but when there's 4 guys in the last couple of years who have either been suspended or have had drug-related talks and or failed a test and or some sort of issue, Richard Sherman, Bruce Irvin, Brandon Brown, or Walter Thurmond, all 4 of these dudes on the defensive side of the football, and then you look at those guys, I want you to Google Bruce Irvin as a rookie at Seattle and Bruce Irvin right now. Take a look at him and tell me that dude hasn't done something. Now, this isn't a high school senior who goes to college and becomes a man and looks completely different. Gets on the Body by Herb, the Herbert plan where he puts on good weight and he grows up. Now, this is a grown man from college going to the NFL and becoming a tank. He was skinny and everybody's like, Bruce Irvin, they drafted him and he's just not going to work out because look how small he is. There's no way he's going to be able to stand up on the defensive line. Yeah, now he looks like the freaking Terminator. He's put on some weight. He didn't even look like the same guy. I saw him and I thought, what? Would not surprise me at all if they're on the roids, all of them. They all look like $1 million. They all look like tanks. They all hit like grown men. Concussed Mr. Lacey last night. I'm not buying that this is all legit. I'm not accusing them. I'll stop just short of accusing them all of being on steroids, but let's just say this. If they are, and it comes out that performance-enhancing drugs were running rampant in Seattle, I'll be the last one to be surprised. Why do you say that, Mark? Well, 4 suspensions, the eye test, and we looked at Barry Bonds. We looked at Mark McGuire. We looked at Sammy Sosa, and we saw things like Barry Bonds. Your head doubled in size. You started swinging the bat so fast that you could hit any pitch anywhere you wanted. It was impossible to keep you off the base pass. You were already one of the best players in the world. Your head doubled in size, and you started hitting 1,000-foot bombs. Yeah. What happened?
Jose Canseco.
Well, he was always on the roid, so it's just like you never had to worry about him, and he'll tell you. Mark McGuire, the guy was skinny, and then he was just jacked. Sammy Sosa, same sort of thing. Roger Clemens, your career starts going like this, and then in the 40s, wonder what happened. I think Seattle, the defense it's unreal good, and I have to give them credit where it's due. Like I said, you can't coach 6'3" and can cover, but when you've got guys who nobody's ever heard of, or like Browner, he was cut from the Denver Broncos back a few years ago, had a suspension for a drug-related issue, and then he comes over and he becomes one of the great players. Like something's fishy over there in Seattle. Get it? You ever seen the fish market where they throw the fish?
I got it.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough crowd.
That's a
tough
call
crowd
for the
here in
Sports Blitz,
the Sports Blitz Cogswell Motors Studios here. But anyway, something just a little fishy to me with Seattle, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if something comes of this years from now. And I have to give them credit where credit is due. They're very, very good, but it's just to me a little bit weird. Pete Carroll, we mentioned not liking him. Some people don't like him because he ran up the score on Arkansas. If Arkansas were running up the score on folks, I probably wouldn't be too upset. So I can't really go there. But he's just so excited all that. Would it surprise you if, and this is probably stepping on the line, would it surprise you if Pete Carroll were on Wes Welker's drug of choice? Like if he were on Molly, would that be a surprise to you? That this guy's just running all over the place. 62 years old. He's acting like he's 35. He's got this huge smile on his face all the time. It's like he knows something you don't know. I don't know. It's probably a little far to go. But anyway, looking forward to a good NFL opening weekend. Hope you've got the DirecTV Sunday Ticket like I do. I'm looking for Sunday Ticket Max to be. And they need to be a sponsor of the Sports Blitz. That's what needs to happen. I need to call them up. Looking forward to watching some of these games this year. What Seattle did last night surprised me enough that I predicted them to be right back there in the Super Bowl hunt. But if somebody doesn't figure out what's going on with that offense real quick, if they don't figure out the Auburn-type wrinkles and Percy Harvin stays healthy, Seattle's going to be tough to beat this year. Percy Harvin, Marshawn Lynch, if he can stay healthy and take the punishment, he deals out more punishment than he takes most of the time. But if he can take those hits and he can continue to keep on ticking, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat Seattle this year. And I'm going out on a limb here to say that I expect that Denver's going to be right there. They got the rebuilt defense. They're going to replace Wes Welker. I think that Emmanuel Sanders, I got him in my fantasy draft the other night, Maddie. I'm excited about that. I think he's going to do a good job there, and they've got weapons. I'm not going to miss or lament the loss of Eric Decker. Bye-bye. Go home. Go on over there to the Jets and do your thing. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if I saw a Denver and Seattle Super Bowl, a rematch of last year's game. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Give us a call today, 968-NEWS. It's 968-6397. We'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts on the NFL opening weekend, your predictions. We need to hit a break because we've got NFL predictions sure to go wrong, or college football predictions. There's 4 good games, I think, this week. Arkansas, we'll get the predictions from that game. They're taking on Nicholls State. Obviously, most of us predict that they're going to win the game, but what's going to happen in this game? What are you looking to see? What do you expect? Some players that you think are going to be shining stars in this game. Give us your thoughts, facebook.com/sportsblitz, or call us at 968-6397. We'll be back right after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Few headlines here on the Sports Blitz on a Friday. We're here in the Cogswell Motors studios with Maddie Lasker. I'm Mark Freeman. The USA FIBA World Championships basketball team. It's a World Cup. They're trying to rebrand. They got a 95-71 win over Ukraine last night. They're 5-0 in Group C there in the World Cup. Pool play. They're going to move into the round of 16 against Mexico. Mexico had a dude hit a 65-footer at the end of the first half. Just dropped it like it was hot. Just nothing but net. And U.S. just going to destroy Mexico. They're going to get to the Final Four before they ever play anybody. And then they'll have to play, if they win that, they'll go to Spain, play Spain in the finals in Spain in the World Cup. If Spain beat the U.S. here, U.S. won 59 games in a row, I think. If Spain beat the U.S., I would not be surprised in the finals of this. They're looking really, really good. Got a little bit of a scare yesterday during that game as Kyrie Irving jumps up and he's going to make I don't know if it was a pass or a layup, or it was right there under the basket and lands on his hip. If you've ever done that, it shoots pain all the way down your leg. It hurts for a while, and he laid there on the floor. Folks were worried about whether or not he was hurt, but he was all right. So far in this tournament, I've been most impressed with a guy who, and I knew coming in that he was going to have a good tournament because he's an effort guy. He's high motor, and I know these are cliches, but you knew in this type of atmosphere he was going to put some points on the board. He was going to go get rebounds, and he was going to be a glue guy, so to speak. Kenneth Faried, the manimal, has played incredibly well in this tournament. And right now, if it were to end, Pau Gasol, Kenneth Faried, they're right there as your MVP of this tournament so far. So we'll see how it ends up. He ended up with a near double-double. Excuse me. Again last night. And Anthony Davis, he's trying to carry the U.S. squad now that Kevin Durant has gone on to sign his Nike deal. Thought it was Under Armour for a while, but now it's Nike. $30 million a year for Kevin Durant with Nike. But the U.S., they're in the FIBA World Cup. We'll see how that turns out. Also, Maddie, did you see this? Gino Auriemma. Okay, this guy's the UConn women's basketball coach. Won like 9 national championships, including like 5 out of the last 6 or something weird, like 5 out of the last 7 or something like that. Just a bunch of national championships. He doesn't really need – people come knocking on his door, so to speak. He doesn't have to go recruit all that much. I'm sure he does, but – he calls Monet Davis, the talented Little League World Series pitcher. She, first female to get a World Series win in a long, long time. And he gives her a call of congratulations. She's 12 years old. She's 3 or 4 years from being able to make that decision to commit to a college. And really, she's a long ways away from it. He may not even be there when she gets – he's been there 30-plus years. He may not even be at UConn anymore when she gets old enough. He makes a call. Somebody turned him in as an NCAA recruiting violation for calling Monet Davis. I say take a step back, take a breather, calm down. If the president calls you to say congratulations, is it an NCAA violation because he's a fan of one school or the other? I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous that people would get up in arms about. I can see from, if you think she's a 16 or 17-year-old girl and you think that this is going to really influence her, but as a 12-year-old, and like not a recruiting call, but just a congratulations, you're a baseball player. I know she said she liked basketball more, but I think it's
That's
kind of
the thing
crazy.
for me. She's a 12-year-old baseball player. Why do we have some other school calling in, having a problem with this coach calling a 12-year-old baseball player?
Well, I know from what people are saying, she said more than once she likes basketball more, and people are saying, well, he's just trying to get his hooks in early.
Well,
It's real early.
Gino said, he's like, I don't know if she can play at all. I don't know anything about her basketball skills.
Yep.
If she's good, great, or can't play, can't shoot a basketball at all. Just because you say you like it, it doesn't mean anything. It just seems so ridiculous to me. Whoever called, I'm calling you out. Whoever you are.
I don't know who it was. It's probably another conference foe of Louisville. It's probably not one of the big dogs. The big dogs don't care. They're doing their thing, and they're trying their best to recruit players that are actually able to play now so that they can beat Louisville or beat UConn. They need all the help they can get. UConn is pretty well dominant there in college women's basketball. All right, 4 big games aside from the Razorback game this weekend in college football. You've got USC, Stanford, Michigan State, Oregon, Michigan, Notre Dame for the last time, maybe ever. Been playing for 100 years, and it's the last time. Virginia Tech at Ohio State. I think those are your 4 big games. I look for Stanford to get a win against USC, although USC was pretty impressive last week, and there's some talk that they can go in and beat Stanford and the Fighting Trees there in California. I think that Michigan State, Oregon is obviously the big game of the weekend. Michigan, Notre Dame is one thing. Michigan, maybe they can hang with Notre Dame. Maybe they can beat them. Who really cares? Notre Dame's irrelevant right now. Not a big Notre Dame fan anyway, never have been. But and Virginia Tech, Ohio State. If Braxton Miller were playing, this is a 21-point win for Ohio State. And maybe Virginia Tech can keep it a little closer because Braxton Miller's not there. But that kind of takes the shine off to me. That Ohio State, they may squeak out a win, and Virginia Tech may even upset them, but who cares? The best player's not there. It's kind of like...
Yeah, Ohio State's not going to be doing anything of note anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, they're not going to be in the Big Ten race as far as I'm concerned, I think. Excuse me, I'm dying here. I'm dying.
Well, Wisconsin will still be around.
Wisconsin's going to be right there. Dude, did you hear the story
Michigan
about Stave?
State. Yeah, I've heard some
the
about it.
The guy's got the yips.
He's out. He's not.
The guy can't throw the ball. He woke up one morning and he can't throw the ball. Me to you, can't throw the ball.
Well,
Forgot
did you see some quotes from him? He was
it's in his head.
Talking about how he was talking about how it's been for the past several weeks or months or whatever, that he can tell something isn't wrong. I read where he said, I've been throwing a football for most of my life, and I can tell when something isn't quite right. Something isn't right.
I went to the gym this morning and shot baskets, and I warm up inside out. It's a progressive shooting is what they call it. Warm up from the inside out. I got outside and I started shooting this morning. I've been shooting basketball my whole life. It's probably, if I were to say I'm above average at anything in the world, shooting basketball would probably be the one thing in the whole world that I feel like I'm above average at. Got out there this morning, felt like I didn't know how to shoot. I was just, what's going on? I'm shooting bricks left and right. I may make one and it feel beautiful. The next shot, it's just terrible.
You should have shot a fadeaway.
Yeah. I can't throw a softball to save my life. Never have been able to throw accurately. So it's not one of those things that if I can't throw that it's just like, what's happening? No, I've never been able to throw. But my wife, she was telling me, and she was an all-everything softball player. She was really, really good down there at Nashville. One game I saw on video, or else I wouldn't have believed her. She played third base, and 21 outs in a 7-inning girls game. She got 14 of them at third base, just snapping people off and throwing them out left and right. And she was hosing folks. She said one day at practice, she got out there to throw catch with, just to warm up, and she was just throwing it directly into the ground. She said, she's like, I have no idea what's going on. Coach said, go run. And she just went running. And she said she came back and she couldn't throw. She could not make the throw to first base. She said, I have no idea what's going on. It's just all in her head. Go to the next day, everything's fine. Just the weirdest thing that she could not throw it to first base for a day. Chuck Knobloch, talented Major League Baseball player, at the end of his career, could not throw the ball from second to first. Couldn't do it. When I watch people play baseball now, I see them making those throws, and I think, I'd throw it in the dugout. I'd throw it in the third row. I'd throw it over here, over there, because I lost that.
When I throw a baseball or any type of ball, not so much a football, I'm not too bad with a football. But any type of round ball, a tennis ball or whatever, I have to choose between power and speed and accuracy, because if I throw it as hard as I can, it's going over there.
See, I'm the opposite. I can't throw it. If I'm just trying to throw you the ball, I can't do it. I have to throw it sort of hard to get it to go where I want to. When I'm warming up playing softball or something, I can hit you right in the chest with the ball about 60 miles an hour. But if you ask me to just throw a toss to you, it's going over the fence. It's going Lord knows where. It's just funny that how sometimes people get the yips, they say, and then you just can't do it. It'll go away. He'll get out of his own head eventually. He'll just wake. This is the thing. What you have to do in that moment, like you think about the mechanics, and like I'm shooting a basketball, and I'm thinking you've got to keep your elbow in, or you've got to make sure and follow through, and you start thinking about it too much, and then the next shot you're just like, man, that was beautiful form, but it was way off. You're like, what happened? And then you stop and you say, all right, just shoot the dang ball. Next one goes in. All right, don't worry about your mechanics. Don't worry about how many steps you're taking on your drop or where your shoulder is, where your release.
Yeah, part of it's just muscle memory.
That's what it is.
It's kind of that way.
Wake up one day and just go throw a stinking ball. Don't think about anything. Yeah. He'll be all right.
This is not at all the same thing, but it is a parallel. When I'm trying to call somebody, if I think of their number, then I won't be able to actually do it. But if I'm just like, oh, I got to call this person, then it's muscle memory and my fingers will just kind of do it. So it's kind of one of those things, like you said, you can't overthink that stuff.
That used to happen to me when I knew numbers, but now they're all saved.
It's all changed a little bit now.
Yeah, Brad Caldwell, he knows numbers. He'll just dial your
number.
He's
old school. Weird. He's what? Is he like 47 now?
Yeah, he also has no hair, so he doesn't have to remember to do things
Brad.
like that. He can just sit there and remember phone numbers. He's a weird numbers guy, so I'll have to give him his due. College football, though, back to stuff that actually matters, not the yips. Michigan State, Oregon, huge game. I think it's got college football playoff implications. Although I had both of these teams in it, and I said that one team or the other, both of them play decent enough schedules that they could overcome a loss in this game if it's a close loss. Now, if it comes down to say they both lose, one loses to the other, and then the other loses to someone else, and it comes down to one of those two teams being in the playoff and the other one not, then this game will matter in that way. But I think if it's a close enough score and both of these teams do what I expect them to do, which is go win their conference and their conference championship, then this game can kind of just be okay. And then maybe they'll meet up in the semifinals, or maybe they'll be opposite sides of the bracket there, and they'll have to meet up in the finals. But I like the matchup. I like the Oregon sort of challenging themselves, and over the years that, okay, we can't beat Stanford, we can't beat Auburn, and these pound you in the mouth type teams, and to get us Michigan State to come into Autzen tonight, I think it's a perfect chance for them to say, all right, we've come around. We're not. Last year they got beat by Stanford 26-20. It wasn't just like they got run over all night long and they didn't have a chance. They were there. I mean, Stanford did have their number, and you knew pretty much from the get-go Stanford was winning that game. I'll be interested to see if Oregon has overcome that mental hurdle like we were just talking about, and can get punched in the mouth and fight back and win this game. Marcus Mariota, he may make his Heisman campaign tonight. He may end his Heisman campaign tonight. That's going to be an interesting game there. I'll probably lean Oregon to win this game. Michigan State can overcome it, though, with the Big Ten schedule that they've got and the fact that they've got a conference championship game.
I think that it matters more for Michigan State, partly just because Ohio State is not going to be – everybody knows it's not like we're into the season, Ohio State's not as good as we thought. They lost their starting quarterback. Everybody knows they're not going to be the team they're expected to be. So I think that weakens the conference a bit, because it wasn't – I don't want to talk bad and be a SEC homer too much, but they weren't – I mean, they're probably third on the list maybe conference-wise strength, because, there's a debate around which is better overall this season – SEC or Pac-12, which I don't know. I haven't seen enough of the Pac-12, but
Pac-12 is apparently pretty deep this year with Oregon and Stanford and UCLA and USC. That's four pretty good teams.
I really think with that we're going to have to wait and see more than just it looks this way now, because people who are looking at the SEC are counting out teams like Arkansas, like Kentucky, which you would, because
people
you don't
counting
have
out A&M too.
Well, as I'm saying, you don't have any reason not to. But now, as the season, we're only one game in, I say as the season progresses, but you know what I mean? You're seeing that these teams are not bottom dwellers.
Yeah.
A&M,
things change.
Even if they're not as good as they looked, they're not bad. Their defense may be bad, but they've got Kenny Hill and they've got an offense that's
Kenny
humming.
Trill.
And Arkansas is absolutely not as bad as we were last year. They're going to be better. Kentucky, even though they didn't play a big-time opponent, they look much better.
Did you see that one-handed pick? Oh, my goodness. The guy from there, I don't know his name, he jumped up and made a one-handed interception. Like, it was, go to YouTube, it was ridiculous. So, yeah, I got you.
I think the bottom, SEC bottom, has risen up in people's minds after this one weekend. So I think that makes a difference. It makes a difference for me to say, well, these teams aren't quite as mediocre as I thought they were going to be. You know, Arkansas is better than I thought, even though we lost by 24. I don't want to get into that one, but you know what I mean. It's not. But then you also have to look at South Carolina, who didn't look quite the same. But still, I think overall the teams that you didn't think were going to be quite as good looked a lot better than I thought. And I don't know if that was true for the Pac-12.
We'll see. If we were over in Pac-12 country, we would probably be saying the opposite thing. But, yeah, we're here in the heart of SEC country, so we sort of are a little biased. I have to give it to us. So.
That's all right.
All right, Prediction Friday. We're going to talk Arkansas, Nicholls State here in just a moment. I want to look at score predictions. Obviously, we think Arkansas is going to win the game. So what do you want to see out of the Hogs? Apparently, you're going to see the Hogs run out of a hog pen. Maybe get that picture in the break. And I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's just like, okay, you're the Razorbacks. You're running out of a hog pen. It's just, it's funnier in baseball. Like they've got that. I say funnier. It's cuter. You know, in baseball, they've got that left field area that fans sit in, and it's the hog pen, and that just, I don't know, a little cooler than this big metal-looking hog pen that the Hogs are going to run out of. They run through the A, they run out of the hog pen.
It has a lot of fog stuff.
Yeah.
Fog
I couldn't understand.
so.
I couldn't tell what it was because it was so like I was looking on my phone. It was shiny and metal, and I was just like, "What is that?"
And it's got the front-facing hog in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I was like, but I think it's going to be cool.
I mean, it's okay.
Better than the A, I think. A is just like, oh, we're Arkansas.
Running
have
through
them
the
run through an A.
Oh no, that's tradition. That's like the hog call. To me, that's tradition that I like. You just rather them wear purple and just show up and call themselves the, I don't know, something.
Don't say
not
something
the
you
Hogs.
shouldn't say on live broadcast.
Matty Lassiter, his for play email is.
Yeah, give it out, Mark. My for play, I have my business.
You're working in for play. All right, we're gonna go to break. Give us your predictions. 968 News 968-6397. I'll give you mine. Arkansas, Nicholls State right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
All right, final segment of the week. We hope you're going to enjoy some high school football tonight. I know I'm going to, man. I'm pumped. Once again, need your help to share with us the score at the game that you go to tonight. It's facebook.com/sportsblitz or facebook.com/RVL News. You can find me on Twitter at RealMarkFreeman if you want, and you can share the score of the game that you're at, and I'll make that available to our readers. 17+ thousand people on Facebook and 90,000 people on rivervalleyleader.com. The mighty River Valley Leader. We'll let that be known to our readers. So by the end of the night, they'll know all the scores. We'll have to wake up tomorrow morning and search for it. They won't have to listen to that statewide show and find out what the score was. They'll know from where they're sitting in their stands how the Russellville-Morrilton game's going, how the Clarksville-Lamar game's going, how the Rivals Cup's going, all these different games that they want to pay attention to. It's all because you guys are making it available to us and helping us out. All right, quickly, Arkansas-Nicholls State. Haven't done a whole lot of analysis before this game because it pretty well goes without saying that you're going to beat Nicholls State. Nicholls State, not very good. They got whipped last weekend by Air Force, gave up 500 yards rushing. Now, Air Force, ironically, does nothing but run the ball, and they did a whole lot of it last week on Nicholls State. Arkansas wants to run the ball, wants to establish the run, has 3 good running options. They're going to run the ball this week. I expect that they're going to have 300 plus. I don't think they're going to get 500 rushing yards because Nicholls State gave up 500 yards rushing last week, but Air Force threw the ball 3 times in the game. So I don't think Arkansas is going to do that. It wouldn't do them any good, even though they could, to just run it over and over and over and over and over. They're going to throw the ball some, work on some things. I'll caution those of you that are watching at 3 o'clock tomorrow on the SEC Network. You're not going to see Arkansas run any tricky stuff. You're not going to see them open the bag of tricks any more than they did against Auburn because there's no reason to. They don't want to put anything else on tape for Texas Tech if they don't have to. So they're going to be pretty vanilla. But I expect that they're going to have about 300 yards rushing, about 200, 250 yards passing. I expect, and these are my predictions here, that you're going to see possibly 3 running backs over 100 yards. It may not work out that way. You may have one of them bust off 200 yards or 150 yards and one of them at 75 or something like that. But I would expect that you're going to see the platoon of Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams and Corliss Marshall go for 300 yards and perhaps even 100 yards apiece for those 3, because that would be the ideal situation in a game where you're going to win. I've got it 51-17. It's my final score prediction. In a game you're going to win huge, I expect that these guys are going to, things are going to go like Arkansas wants them to in enough form that you're going to be able to get Corliss Marshall his touches, or Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams to start out with their touches, and then Corliss Marshall sort of gets his at the end of the game. Did I say? I think I might have said Jonathan Marshall just now. Jonathan Williams, that'd be a nice running back. But Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins, they're running touches. If you
did, then you would be right on with the rest of the commentators for the Auburn-Arkansas game.
Calling
it was
Auburn,
Jonathan Marshall, and it was Alex.
Well, they were calling Arkansas, Wisconsin. Half the game. They called them the Badgers.
That's right.
It's like, dude. Brent Musburger, man. His voice does excite me for college football because when I hear it, it's like Keith Jackson used to be. I hear his voice, I'm like, oh, or Pat Summerall. You knew it was NFL, time when you heard that voice. But sort of passed him by a little bit. Yeah, he and Vern Lundquist both. Like, you hear their voice and you're excited for football, and then you continue to hear them talk and you think,
if your name is Vern, you're from a time past,
Yeah, my papaw's name is Virgil.
Virgil? Yeah,
Virgil and Reba.
Those 2 that's all I'm talking about.
Those 2 right there. You know which generation they were born in, don't you? Anyway, 300-plus yards rushing. I think that's par for the course. I don't think you're going to see anything less than that. I think 15 completions for Brandon Allen. I think he had 18 this last week against Auburn. 15 completions possibly for Brandon Allen, and then he gets out and Austin Allen goes in. He's going to have a good game. I expect that he's going to connect with some wide receivers who, if they can possibly catch the ball, that would be incredible. I don't know which wide receivers that I think are going to have the best games this week. I know JoJo Robinson isn't going to play. I saw that. He got stepped on in practice, and he's hurt, so he's out this week. Jared Cornelius, I'd like to see him and Drew Morgan and some of these guys make a step up. Kendrick Edwards. I would like to see Demetrius Wilson play more. I'd like to see Keon Hatcher play less. Well, I say that. I mean, I've been kind of hard on Keon Hatcher. He stuck it out through a rough time. He's played wide receiver, a position that right now it's a glorified lineman. It's not quite as bad as what it used to be for Houston Nutt, but when he gets his opportunities, I just like to see him make the most of them. He's had a couple plays where he's been wide open. You saw the touchdown pass last week that he dropped. So I'd like to see him play a little better this week against Nicholls State. I don't know which wide receivers are going to step up and play well, but I know Hunter Henry is going to have an impact this week. He had one catch. It was a touchdown last week against Auburn, and the talk of the day then becomes, well, he got Brandon Allen blown up because he missed a block, and it was a pick six because Hunter Henry, you missed the block. You know, that's where people are pointing the finger at him. I think he's going to redeem himself this week. He's going to have a good game. He's going to show folks why he was a freshman All-America last year, why he's going to be very, very good at the University of Arkansas as a pass catcher. A.J. Derby had a good week last week. I expect that the tight ends are going to have a role in this offense that's pretty good. But I just expect that Hunter Henry's going to be really good this week. 3 or fewer penalties. Arkansas was the least penalized team in the SEC last year. Had, I don't want to say bad penalty problems last week, but they had more penalties than they'd like. I think that they're going to clean it up this week. The most improvement between week 1 and week 2, fewer than 3 penalties. 3 penalties or fewer. We'll go there for Arkansas this week, and 51-17. Maddie, your predictions?
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to have the Kool-Aid minute. Not that we really need it for this week, but just
this
to
is
have
the
it
Kool-Aid
anyway.
minute. You're going to beat the crap out of Nicholls State. And, you know, it's like on Hogville, hogville.net. I love
Kool-Aid minute is the reality. We'll have the reality minute.
Well, they do this, it's in basketball, the basketball thread, where it's just like, screw you, whatever team you're playing, and then it talks about all the things Arkansas is going to do to that team and how this team sucks and this is why, and it's just a joke. It's just for fun. But that's kind of what our Kool-Aid minute reminds me of. So your predictions.
Okay. I'm going to say, let me think about this. 62.
Okay.
To 21. No,
yeah.
to 20. To 20.
Well, Nicholls State scored, I think, 13 points or 16 points last week. Let me look real quick. They didn't score a whole ton of points, and I did look at that when I was making my prediction because I think Arkansas's defense 16 points, 44-16. So they got beat by Air Force 44-16. I think Arkansas is going to put more points on the board than that. I'm afraid and ashamed to say that I think Arkansas is going to give up more points than that. Now, the defensive line may just come in and dominate because, you know, it's men amongst boys, so to speak. But the secondary I'm still worried about and wondering about. And you've got guys that are still out. You got Tevin Mitchell still out. Brett Bielema brought up the R word for Tevin Mitchell. He said he's got a redshirt possibility. Like, if he can't come back in the next couple weeks, he might redshirt. Man, you got Will Hines, didn't even make the travel roster. Maybe he'll make an impact and get back on that this week against Nicholls State. Maybe Andre Tolliver can make plays out there, and maybe, just maybe, somebody at safety. Josh Liddell is going to play, the talented. He's from Pine Bluff, Dollaway, and I remember him playing in the state championship game against Pottsville a couple years ago in basketball. He was very, very good at basketball, and he's very athletic, and I expect that he's going to help in the safety position. Maybe one of those guys will make a play, but I expect Arkansas is going to give up some points.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could have somebody similar to the Honey Badger who maybe isn't the right size and isn't all
just will make
all
a
these
freaking
things.
play.
Somebody, exactly. Maybe I shouldn't say the Honey Badger. I want a playmaker.
Yeah. No,
I don't need to have somebody that's 6'3" and unbelievably fast. That's all really nice. That'd be nice to have. I wish somebody, a ball hawk. I wish we had that. If we just had somebody on that side of the field that was that type of player.
Yeah.
You know, because even I go back. This is not the same position, but I think of back in the day with Tony Bua, undersized dude. If you looked at him, you'd say he does not belong on the field. But the dude was vicious. He was he was good because he wanted to be, not because he had the physical skills necessarily. So I'd like to see somebody with that type of attitude. You know, it's just like, I'm going to do this to you, and you're not going to stop me type thing. I wish we had that, because we haven't seen that at Arkansas in quite a while.
Dude was mean. Sam Olajibutu is another one. Undersized, but he was just mad.
Yeah.
He just wanted to. He's an angry little man. They said, as Keo Small. I think, yeah, it'd be nice for Arkansas to have somebody like that. So, all right, we got to get out of here. I think we've hit everything. I think we've talked about pretty much everything we wanted to hit. I do want to give a big shout out to the Fighting Wonder Boys of Arkansas Tech. Broke a record last night. They won 33-14 to start the year against Northwest Oklahoma State, and they got a big win in the GAC. They scored a 98-yard touchdown, had a 98-yard touchdown pass with a couple minutes left in the game. They got a goal line stand at the 3-yard line, and then they went 98 yards after they lost a yard on play. Or actually, I guess they got the stop at the 2, and they scored a 98-yard touchdown pass to end that game. So they broke a record on the first game of the year, something that Arkansas Tech hadn't ever seen before, a 98-yard touchdown. There's only 1 yard more you can go. So I expect that Arkansas Tech's going to have a pretty good year this year. Congratulations to Michael Perry and all the local players. They're more than just Michael Perry. Jalen Curtis from Russellville and some other folks who contribute locally. So we'll look at the roster, and we may talk to Coach Monica on Monday about that. But congratulations to them. That's all the time we've got. We're going to get out of here for a Friday. We'll be back on Monday at 11 o'clock. For Maddie and Mark, for Maddie, I'm Mark. Not and Mark. I'm Mark. Saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Monday with more Sports Blitz.